has a way of throwing challenges at us when we least expect it. It's in those moments when everything seems to be falling apart that we can easily feel overwhelmed, defeated, and tempted to give up. But when things get tough, that's exactly when we need to remember to hold on, to trust, and to keep moving forward. Because quitting may seem like the easiest option, but it's not the solution. When life is hard, it's easy to feel like we're walking through a storm with no end in sight. The pressures of life, whether they are emotional, financial, relational, or spiritual, can weigh us down. We may ask ourselves, why me? Or when will this end? And in those moments, we might even doubt our strength or ability to overcome what's in front of us. But here's the thing, we're not meant to go through this journey alone. There is always something bigger than us, a higher power, a guiding hand that we can turn to. For those who believe, God is there in the hard times, walking with us even when we don't feel His presence. Trusting God is not always easy, especially when things aren't going the way we want them to. But faith, real faith, isn't about knowing all the answers or seeing the way forward. It's about trusting, even in the midst of uncertainty. When we trust God during tough times, we're not ignoring the pain or pretending like everything is okay. We're acknowledging that the pain is real, that the struggle is real, but that we don't have to face it on our own. God's promises remind us that He is with us, even in the hardest moments. He's the one who gives us strength when we feel weak, courage when we're afraid, and hope when we feel hopeless. Trusting God means believing that He has a plan for us, even when we can't see it. It means understanding that the hardship we're going through might be preparing us for something greater in the future. In those moments of struggle, remember that persistence is key. It's easy to want to quit when everything feels out of control, but remember, everything you're going through is temporary. You may not know when the breakthrough will come, but it will come, and when it does, you'll look back and realize that the strength to keep going didn't come from yourself. It came from trusting God. Don't quit. Even when it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, keep moving forward. Trust that God is working behind the scenes, that He is refining you, shaping you, and preparing you for something greater. It's okay to lean on Him, to ask for help, to surrender your fears and frustrations. In those moments, you're not giving up, you're giving it to God. Remember, your breakthrough could be just around the corner. Don't let the struggle convince you to quit before the blessing arrives. Trust God, keep your faith, and know that better days are ahead. When times are hard, that's when you need to lean into your faith the most. Keep going. Don't quit. Life, as we know it, is rarely a smooth, uninterrupted path. We all face periods where things seem uncertain, overwhelming, or just plain hard. These are the times when we may feel tempted to give up or to wish for an escape. It's in these moments of difficulty that we must remind ourselves of an important truth. Struggles are an inevitable part of life. They are not signs that we are doing something wrong or that we are cursed. In fact, they are necessary experiences that contribute to our growth and transformation. Embracing the struggle is one of the most powerful decisions we can make when life feels heavy. The idea of embracing struggle might sound counterintuitive at first. Our natural instinct is to avoid pain, to resist challenges, and to seek comfort. This is understandable because pain and hardship are uncomfortable, and it's only human to want to escape them. However, when we continuously avoid or run from struggles, we miss out on some of life's most important lessons. Every challenge we face holds the potential to teach us something valuable about ourselves, about others, and about life itself. Struggles are not just obstacles in our way, they are opportunities for growth. Consider the process of refining gold. In its natural state, gold is impure and filled with imperfections. But through intense heat and pressure, it is purified, revealing its true value and brilliance. Similarly, we too are refined through life's challenges. Struggles act as the heat that burns away the impurities of our character, revealing qualities we may not have known existed within us. In times of difficulty, we learn patience, perseverance, and resilience. We become more compassionate toward others who are going through similar challenges. Our understanding of our own strength deepens, and we begin to realize that we are capable of overcoming more than we ever thought possible. One of the most important aspects of embracing the struggle is recognizing that it is not something to be feared, but rather something to be faced with courage. Courage does not mean the absence of fear or pain. It means pushing forward in spite of them. It means deciding that we are not going to allow the hardship we're facing to define us or defeat us. Instead, we choose to face it head-on, trusting that on the other side of the struggle, we will emerge stronger and wiser. This perspective is especially important when we find ourselves dealing with circumstances that seem beyond our control. There will be times when life's difficulties come out of nowhere, catching us off guard. A job loss, a health crisis, the end of a relationship, or the death of a loved one. These are moments that can shake us to our core. In these times, the temptation is to retreat inward, to isolate ourselves, or to give in to feelings of despair. But it is precisely in these moments when embracing the struggle is most crucial. When we face such hardships, it's important to remember that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. We have the power to choose our mindset. We can choose to view the struggle as an opportunity for growth rather than as a burden. This shift in perspective doesn't make the pain or hardship go away, but it does help us see the situation through a lens of possibility instead of hopelessness. It allows us to tap into the strength and resilience that already exist within us, even if we haven't fully recognized them yet. Another important aspect of embracing the struggle is understanding that we are not alone in it. No one is exempt from facing difficulties in life. Everyone has their battles, even if they are not immediately visible to the outside world. It's easy to feel isolated during hard times, especially when we compare our struggles to the seemingly perfect lives of others. However, when we acknowledge that everyone faces challenges, it becomes easier to understand that hardship is a shared experience. This realization can foster a sense of connection with others and can remind us that we are not isolated in our pain. Others have walked similar paths and many have emerged victorious. Their experiences can offer us hope and encouragement as we navigate our own struggles. Embracing the struggle also involves a willingness to surrender our need for immediate solutions or quick fixes. In a world that thrives on instant gratification, it can be difficult to accept that some challenges require time to overcome. We may want things to get better right away, but often the most profound growth happens in the waiting and the enduring. The struggle may not end as quickly as we hope, but every step we take through it contributes to our development as individuals. The process of working through the challenge rather than avoiding or resisting it shapes us in ways that no shortcut ever could. Furthermore, embracing the struggle encourages us to develop a deeper sense of gratitude. When life is easy, it's easy to take things for granted. But when we face adversity, we begin to appreciate the things we once overlooked. The small victories, the moments of peace, the strength we discover within ourselves. The struggle teaches us to value the blessings in our lives more deeply, as we recognize that they are often the result of hard work, perseverance, and faith. The struggles we face can ultimately enrich our lives, providing us with a sense of fulfillment and purpose that we might not have experienced otherwise. Finally, embracing the struggle allows us to develop a deeper relationship with God or whatever higher power we turn to for strength and guidance. It is in the hardest times that we often find our faith tested, and it is during these times that we can experience the greatest spiritual growth. When we feel at our lowest, reaching out to God and trusting that He is with us, guiding us, and helping us through the struggle can be a transformative experience. We may not always understand why we are going through difficult times, but trusting that there is a greater purpose behind the struggle can bring us peace and strength. Life struggles are never easy, but they are often the most profound experiences we face. By embracing them instead of running from them, we allow ourselves to grow in ways we never could otherwise. every challenge we face, no matter how difficult, has the potential to shape us into better, stronger, and more compassionate individuals. Instead of avoiding the struggle, let's choose to face it with courage, trust in our ability to overcome, and the knowledge that we will emerge from it transformed. When life's difficulties hit, it can feel like everything is falling apart. You might find yourself standing at the edge, looking out over a vast sea of problems and challenges, unsure how to move forward. In those moments, it's easy to feel abandoned, isolated, or forgotten. The emotional weight of hardship can create a deep sense of loneliness, and sometimes it might seem like God is distant, that He's not there when you need Him the most. However, it is in these very moments that we must remind ourselves of one profound truth. God is always with us, even when we can't see or feel Him. Faith doesn't mean that life will be without trials. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Throughout history, we've seen countless examples of people who faced unimaginable challenges. From the stories of Job in the Bible to the struggles of countless believers throughout time, hardship is a common thread. But what distinguishes those who endure from those who give up is the ability to trust in God's presence, even when it feels like He is not near. When we go through difficult times, it's natural to question where God is. When things are going well, it's easy to feel His closeness. His presence feels real, tangible. We sense His guidance and His love. But when trials come and we face suffering, it can feel like He has disappeared. It's as if He's turned His back and we're left to face our struggles alone. This is the essence of the test of faith, learning to trust in God's presence even when we don't feel it. One of the most comforting truths in Scripture is that God promises to never leave us or forsake us. Hebrews 13:5 says, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." These words are a reminder that no matter what we face, we are never alone. Even when we can't perceive His presence with our eyes or feel it in our hearts, God is with us, walking alongside us through every difficulty. He is a constant companion, a source of strength, and a refuge in times of trouble. Sometimes, God's presence may not be immediately obvious. We may not hear an audible voice, feel a warm embrace, or experience miraculous signs that show He's right beside us. However, God works in ways that often transcend our understanding of the moment. Even in the silence, He is present. Other times, His presence may be revealed through the strength we find to keep going when we thought we couldn't, through the support of friends and family who seem to appear just when we need them, or through the deep sense of peace that comes even amidst chaos. Trusting in God's presence also means understanding that He sees our pain, even when it's invisible to others. There are times when the weight of our burdens feels unbearable, and we might feel that no one understands what we're going through, but God does. Psalm 34:18 assures us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. He is near, standing with us in our sorrow, offering comfort and holding us when we feel as if we might fall apart. Even when others don't see our struggles, He sees. When we feel that no one understands, He understands fully. He knows the deepest parts of our hearts, the parts that no one else can access, and He meets us there. Trusting in God's presence also calls us to lean into His strength during times of weakness. The Apostle Paul wrote in Corinthians 12:9, "But He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me." When we are weak, God's strength shines brightest. We may feel like we have nothing left to give, but in those moments, we are often most attuned to God's power at work within us. The very fact that we continue to get up each day, continue to face our challenges, and continue to press on despite our circumstances is evidence of God's presence and His strength within us. Another vital aspect of trusting in God's presence is that it brings peace. The world around us is full of noise, anxiety, and chaos, especially during difficult times. But the presence of God brings a peace that transcends understanding. Philippians 4:6-7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This peace doesn't make the problems disappear, but it provides us with a reassurance that we are not alone in them. When we trust that God is with us, we can experience His peace, even in the most difficult of circumstances. It's also important to remember that God's presence doesn't just provide comfort and strength, it equips us to grow through the struggle. While hardship is never easy, it often leads to transformation. We learn valuable lessons about ourselves and about God during these times. When we trust that God is walking with us, we open ourselves to being shaped and refined by the experience. The trials we go through can become moments of spiritual growth as we learn to rely on God more fully, to deepen our faith, and to trust His timing. Even in our suffering, God is working out His purposes in our lives. At times, trusting in God's presence requires patience. There may be moments when we don't feel the peace or strength we're hoping for right away. We might even question why God allows certain difficulties to linger. But through it all, we can trust that God's timing is perfect. When life feels overwhelming and when we can't see a way out, trust in God's presence. He is with us in every moment, providing strength when we are weak, comfort when we are hurting, and peace when we are anxious. Even in the midst of hardship, we are never alone. God sees our pain, He walks beside us, and He will never leave us. Trusting in His presence is not always easy, but it is always worth it. When we rely on Him, we discover that we are stronger, braver, and more capable than we ever imagined. Through every trial, He is with us, and that truth is enough to carry us through. Faith is often misunderstood. Many people think that having faith means having all the answers, never struggling with doubt, or always feeling completely certain about everything. There's a misconception that faith is about achieving some level of spiritual perfection, a state where we never question, never waver, and never face moments of uncertainty. But that's not the reality of true faith. The essence of faith isn't about having it all figured out or being perfect. It's about trust, trusting in God, even when the path ahead is unclear, even when we are unsure of the next step. In life, we are bound to face moments of confusion, fear, and uncertainty. Things don't always go as planned, and situations arise that challenge our understanding of the world around us. It's easy to feel lost when things fall apart, especially when we don't see a way forward. During those times, it can be tempting to believe that faith means having all the answers, knowing exactly why things are happening and how they will work out. But the truth is, faith doesn't require us to have all the answers. It requires us to trust God, even when we don't understand the circumstances we find ourselves in. Think about the people in the Bible who exemplified true faith. Their stories were far from perfect. Abraham, for example, was promised by God that he would be the father of many nations, yet he had to wait years, even decades, before he saw the fulfillment of that promise. In those years, he struggled with doubt, he questioned God's plan, and at times even tried to take matters into his own hands. But despite his doubt, he trusted that God had a plan, and in the end, God's promises were fulfilled in ways beyond what Abraham could have imagined. Or consider the story of Job, a man who faced unimaginable suffering. He lost his wealth, his health, and his family, and he had no idea why all of this was happening to him. Job's story is filled with doubt and confusion. He questioned God, he expressed his frustration, and he asked why he was suffering. But through it all, Job never gave up on God. He didn't understand what was happening, but he trusted that God had a purpose, even when that purpose wasn't clear. In the end, Job's faith, despite his doubt, was rewarded, and God restored him in ways he never expected. These stories remind us that true faith is not about being perfect or having unwavering certainty. It's about trusting God in the midst of confusion, doubt, and uncertainty. Faith is not the absence of questions or fears. It's the willingness to trust God even when we don't have all the answers. True faith acknowledges that we are human and limited in our understanding, but it also acknowledges that God is faithful even when we don't understand his ways. In fact, faith often grows in the moments when we don't have all the answers. It's in the valleys, during the difficult seasons of life, that we learn to trust God more deeply. When everything around us feels uncertain, we are given the opportunity to lean into God, to surrender our fears, and to choose trust over doubt. It's not that we never doubt, it's that we choose to trust even in the midst of doubt. Faith isn't about having the perfect answer to every question. It's about choosing to believe that God is bigger than our circumstances and that he is working all things together for our good, even when we can't see it. Faith is also about believing that God has a plan for us, even when we can't see the way forward. When we are in the middle of a difficult situation, it's easy to feel like we are stumbling in the dark, unsure of where to go next. The path ahead may seem unclear, and the future may feel uncertain. But faith tells us that even in those moments, God has a plan. He knows the end from the beginning, and his plans are always good, even when we don't understand them in the moment. Trusting God doesn't mean knowing exactly what the future holds. It means trusting that God knows and that his plan is better than anything we could come up with on our own. This kind of faith requires patience. It requires waiting on God's timing even when it's difficult. In our world of instant gratification, waiting can feel uncomfortable. We want answers now, we want solutions now, and we want things to be resolved immediately. But God's plan often unfolds over time. He doesn't always show us the full picture at once. Instead, he invites us to take it one step at a time, trusting him to lead us in the right direction. This process of waiting and trusting is what deepens our faith. It teaches us to rely on God, not on our own understanding or our own ability to control our circumstances. Another aspect of faith is surrender. When we truly trust God, we surrender our need for control. It's easy to hold on tightly to our plans and desires, thinking that we can navigate life better on our own. But true faith is about releasing our grip and trusting that God's plan is always better than our own. This doesn't mean that we become passive or that we don't take action, but it means that we trust God to direct our steps and we allow him to lead us. It means acknowledging that we don't have all the answers, but he does. It's important to remember that faith isn't about perfection. We don't have to have everything figured out. We don't have to pretend that we never doubt, never question, or never feel lost. What matters is that, despite our doubts, we choose to trust God. We choose to believe that he is good, that he loves us, and that he has a purpose for our lives. Even when we can't see it clearly, faith is a journey, not a destination. It's about walking with God, step by step, even when the path ahead is uncertain. True faith is built on trust, not on perfection. It's about trusting that God is faithful, even when we are unsure. It's about believing that he has a plan for us, even when we can't see the way forward. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about choosing to trust God with our questions, our doubts, and our fears. In the end, that trust is what sustains us and carries us through the darkest times, knowing that God is always with us and that his plan will prevail. There are times in life when everything seems to be working against us. We face challenges that feel insurmountable, and every step forward feels like it takes everything we've got. The weight of the journey can sometimes be overwhelming, and in those moments it's easy to feel like giving up is the only option. But it is in those very moments when the struggle seems the toughest, it's when we feel most tempted to quit that we are often on the brink of something greater, something that could change the course of our lives. The concept of persistence is deeply embedded in the idea of not giving up, even when we don't see immediate results. Life's most profound breakthroughs, whether they are in our careers, relationships, or personal growth, often come just after we've pushed through the hardest battles. When we are in the thick of struggle, it can be incredibly difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We may feel exhausted, discouraged, and unsure of the path ahead. But if we keep moving forward, even when we don't feel like it, we open ourselves up to the possibility of something extraordinary on the other side. The world often tells us that success comes easily to those who are lucky or have the right circumstances. We see stories of people who seem to achieve their dreams effortlessly, and we may wonder why things are so hard for us. But the truth is, for every success story, there is a history of perseverance, of countless setbacks and failures, of moments when the person almost gave up, but chose to keep going. Success, the kind that is lasting and meaningful, is often built on a foundation of persistence. It's not about never facing challenges, it's about choosing to face them, no matter how hard they seem. Think of the story of Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. Edison's journey was far from easy. In fact, his countless experiments often resulted in failure. Yet he didn't give up. When asked about his many failures, Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His persistence, even in the face of repeated failure, eventually led to one of the most significant breakthroughs in history. Edison didn't quit when things got tough. He kept pushing forward, and that perseverance ultimately led to success. Similarly, in the Bible, there are numerous stories of individuals who faced overwhelming challenges and had to persevere through difficult times before seeing the breakthrough. Take the story of the Israelites wandering in the desert. They faced immense hardships, wandering for 40 years with little more than hope and faith to sustain them. Yet through it all, they held on, and in the end, they reached the promised land, a breakthrough that had seemed impossible in their darkest moments. Their journey wasn't quick or easy, but their persistence led them to the fulfillment of God's promise. Persistence doesn't just apply to big, monumental goals. It also applies to the everyday struggles we face. Every time we face difficulties, whether it's in a relationship, a job, or within ourselves, we are presented with a choice. We can either give up or keep going. The truth is, breakthroughs rarely come from simply waiting for things to get better on their own. They come from actively choosing to keep moving forward, even when it seems like there's no hope, even when the road ahead is unclear. The act of continuing, even when everything inside of us tells us to quit, is what often creates the conditions for breakthrough to happen. During times of struggle, it's essential to keep reminding ourselves that breakthroughs rarely come in a straight line. The path is often winding and filled with detours, setbacks, and obstacles that can make us question our ability to continue. But it is in those moments when we feel like we can't go any further that we must remember that we are closer than we think. The breakthrough may be just around the corner. All the effort, all the hard work, all the times we felt like giving up but chose to press on can accumulate in the moment of breakthrough that transforms everything. If we quit too soon, we may miss it. Think about the process of farming. A farmer plants seeds, waters them, and tends to them. But he can't make them grow overnight. There are seasons of waiting, of tending to the soil, of enduring the harsh elements. But with persistence, the seeds eventually grow into something strong and fruitful. The breakthrough doesn't come instantly. It comes through the consistent effort of showing up every day, continuing to nurture, and trusting that growth will come. Our lives are like that. We may not always see immediate results, but every moment of persistence is nurturing something within us that will bear fruit in due time. In the same way, when we keep moving forward, even when the journey feels impossible, we begin to develop qualities like resilience, patience, and endurance. These qualities are essential for sustaining the breakthroughs that come into our lives. We may not always realize it in the moment, but the process of persevering is shaping us into the people we need to be in order to fully embrace and enjoy the breakthroughs that are ahead. God uses our persistence to refine us, to help us grow into who we are meant to be, and to prepare us for what He has in store. Sometimes we might be tempted to believe that our efforts are in vain or that we're just spinning our wheels. It's easy to feel discouraged when we don't see immediate progress, especially when it seems like we're giving our best without getting the results we hope for. But it's in these moments that we must remind ourselves that persistence is about trust. It's about trusting that God sees our efforts, that He is at work behind the scenes, even when we can't. Just because we don't see results immediately doesn't mean that we aren't making progress. Every act of perseverance is building the foundation for something greater. The key to seeing the good that God has in store for us is to keep going, even when we don't understand why things are so difficult. Our persistence is a form of faith. It's believing that even in the midst of struggle, something good is coming. The breakthrough may not look the way we expect, and it may take longer than we imagined. But when we trust that God is using our persistence to prepare us for what lies ahead, we can keep going with hope. Breakthroughs often come just after the hardest battles. So, when you're tempted to quit, Remember that your breakthrough might be right around the corner. Keep pushing through the challenges even when the journey feels impossible. Your persistence is not just an act of endurance, it's an act of faith. It's the key to unlocking the good that God has in store for you. Life is full of challenges, and at times those challenges can feel overwhelming. Whether it's dealing with personal struggles, facing external obstacles, or simply navigating through the complexities of everyday life, hardships can often seem like setbacks, discouraging us from moving forward. When we find ourselves in the midst of difficulty, it's easy to question why things are happening or wonder if we'll ever make it through. However, in those moments of hardship, we must remember that God is not absent or indifferent to our struggles. Rather, He uses those very struggles to refine us, to shape us into the people He has called us to be. While it might not feel like it in the moment, every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth, both spiritually and personally. It's important to recognize that growth does not always come from comfort or ease. In fact, it is often through the most difficult experiences that we are shaped and refined the most. Just as gold is purified by fire, we too are purified through the trials and tribulations of life. The refining process can be painful, but it is essential for growth. It's in the fire that impurities are removed, and it is in the struggle that we are shaped into stronger, more resilient individuals. The difficulties we face aren't wasted or meaningless. Rather, they are part of God's greater plan to help us grow, develop, and become more like Him. The Bible offers numerous examples of people who experienced hardship but ultimately grew stronger and wiser because of it. One such example is the story of Joseph. Joseph's life was filled with hardship, betrayal, and suffering. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused of a crime, and thrown into prison. For many, these experiences would have been enough to break their spirit and turn them away from God. Yet, Joseph's faith never wavered. Even in the darkest of times, he trusted that God had a plan for him. Through every trial, Joseph grew in character, humility, and wisdom. Eventually, his persistence and trust in God led to his rise to a position of great influence, where he was able to save not only his family, but an entire nation from famine. What appeared to be setbacks were in fact the very tools God used to prepare Joseph for his purpose. Another powerful example is that of the Apostle Paul. Paul's life was marked by suffering. He endured imprisonment, beatings, shipwrecks, and countless other trials. Yet, through all of this, Paul's faith was strengthened, and his understanding of God's purpose deepened. You see Corinthians 12:9, Paul reflects on his own struggles, writing, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me." Paul came to understand that his weaknesses and struggles were not obstacles to his calling. They were an integral part of God's plan to mold him into a vessel that could carry out His will. Through his trials, Paul learned to rely not on his own strength, but on the grace and power of God. And in doing so, he was able to fulfill his purpose in a way that he never could have without the hardships he faced. These stories remind us that hardship is not something to be avoided or feared, but something to be embraced with the understanding that God is using it for our benefit. Each challenge we face is an opportunity to grow in faith, to deepen our trust in God, and to become more equipped to fulfill the unique purpose He has for our lives. When we face difficulty, we often wonder why God allows us to go through such pain. But it's important to remember that God does not waste our suffering. He uses it to shape us, to teach us, and to refine us. Every struggle, no matter how difficult, has a purpose in God's greater plan for our lives. Sometimes, the challenges we face reveal areas in our lives where we need to grow. Perhaps we need to develop more patience, more humility, or more compassion for others. Maybe we need to learn to trust God more deeply, or to rely on His strength rather than our own. When we lean into God during difficult times, we allow Him to work in us and through us, shaping us into the people we are meant to be. But it's also important to recognize that growth doesn't happen instantly. Spiritual growth in particular is a gradual process. Just as a tree doesn't grow overnight, neither do we become the people God is calling us to be in an instant. Growth takes time, and it often comes through a series of small steps, decisions, and experiences. In times of difficulty, it can feel like we're not making progress, but if we continue to trust God and rely on Him, we will see that each step is a part of His greater plan. It is through persistence, even in the face of struggle, that we begin to see the fruit of our labor and the transformation that God has been working in us all along. Another aspect of this growth is that hardships allow us to experience God's faithfulness in deeper ways. When everything is going well, it can be easy to take God's goodness for granted. But when we go through difficult times, we are forced to rely on God in ways that we wouldn't otherwise. It is in the valley that we learn to trust God more fully, to lean into His strength, and to experience His comfort in ways that we might not have known before. God's faithfulness becomes more evident when we are at our weakest, and it is through these experiences that our relationship with Him deepens. Furthermore, our struggles also prepare us to help others. As we go through our own battles, we gain empathy and understanding for those who are facing similar struggles. Our experiences become a source of strength and encouragement for others, and we are able to walk alongside them in their own difficult times. In this way, God uses our pain not only for our own growth, but for the growth and encouragement of others as well. Our struggles, when surrendered to God, become tools that He can use to bless and minister to those around us. In the midst of hardship, it can be difficult to see the bigger picture. It's easy to become consumed by our pain and to question why things are happening the way they are. But we must remember that God is at work, even when we can't see it. Every challenge, every setback, every trial is an opportunity for growth. Through our struggles, He is molding us into people who are stronger, wiser, and more capable of fulfilling the unique purpose He has set before us. Trust in the process, and trust that God is using every hardship to help you grow. In moments of hardship, it can often feel as though the weight of the struggle is too much to bear. You may find yourself physically drained, emotionally worn out, and spiritually stretched beyond your limits. It's in these moments of exhaustion, frustration, and discouragement that the temptation to quit can feel overwhelmingly strong. When the struggle seems insurmountable and the future looks uncertain, it can be easy to believe that the current moment, but it's crucial to remember that the difficulties you're facing are temporary, and they do not have the power to define your future. No matter how hard things may seem right now, don't let the intensity of the moment convince you that you are incapable of overcoming it. Life has a way of testing us, pushing us to our limits. There are seasons when everything seems to go wrong, when obstacles keep piling up, and when it feels like the light at the end of the tunnel is nowhere in sight. It's in these moments that the human instinct is often to give up, to throw in the towel, and to walk away from the struggle. But while these moments may feel consuming, they are, in reality, just that, moments. Time passes, situations change, and the challenges that feel so overwhelming today will eventually fade away. What matters most is how we respond to those moments. When the heat of the moment tries to convince us to quit, that is when we must dig deeper, trust more fully, and keep moving forward, even if it feels like every step is a struggle. The first step in overcoming the temptation to quit is to remind yourself that this season of difficulty is temporary. While it may feel as though it will last forever, nothing in life stays the same. Seasons change, circumstances shift, and the difficulties you're facing today will not last forever. It can be difficult to keep that perspective when you're in the midst of a challenge, but taking a step back and reminding yourself that this too shall pass can bring a sense of peace and hope. In times of struggle, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that your current circumstances are permanent, but they're not. Everything changes with time, and your current challenge is just one chapter in your larger story. The struggle you're facing now will eventually become a memory, a part of your past, and you will emerge from it stronger and wiser than before. It's also important to acknowledge that the struggle itself can be a powerful teacher. When you're in the middle of a difficult moment, it's easy to focus only on the pain and the difficulty. But if you allow yourself to see beyond the moment, you may begin to recognize the lessons that the struggle is teaching you. Even though it may be hard to see it in the moment, every challenge you face is shaping you into a stronger, more capable person. Through struggles, we often learn patience, endurance, and faith. We develop new skills, gain wisdom, and become more empathetic to the struggles of others. It is in the heat of the moment that we are often refined and strengthened, though it's easy to overlook these valuable lessons when we're focused on the discomfort of the present. One of the greatest gifts we have in overcoming life's challenges is the ability to keep going, even when it feels impossible. When you are tempted to quit, remember that you have already overcome challenges in the past. You've made it through difficult situations before, and you are more capable than you realize. It's easy to forget how far you've come when you're focused on the struggle in front of you. But if you take a moment to reflect on past victories, you'll realize that you have the strength and resilience to keep going. Every challenge you've faced before has prepared you for the one you're facing now, and every victory has built up your ability to persevere. The same strength that got you through past struggles is within you now, and you have everything you need to face this challenge as well. An important aspect of not letting the moment convince you to quit is the reminder that better days are ahead. Hope is one of the most powerful forces we can have in the midst of struggle. When things seem their darkest, holding on to hope can be the difference between quitting and continuing to fight. Hope is not based on the current circumstances. It is rooted in the belief that something better is coming. In difficult times, it may seem as though things will never get better. But the truth is that better days are always ahead. Life is full of ups and downs, and no matter how hard the current moment feels, there is always the promise of brighter days in the future. By keeping hope alive in your heart, you can push through the toughest times, knowing that your present struggle will not last forever. Trust is also a vital part of continuing forward when the temptation to quit arises. Trusting that God is with you in the struggle, that He has a plan for you, and that He will see you through is crucial. Trusting in God's timing and His wisdom allows you to release your fear and anxiety about the present moment and gives you the courage to keep going, even when the way forward seems unclear. Trust is not always easy, especially when things are hard, but it is through trust that we can find peace in the middle of the storm. God has promised to never leave us or forsake us, and when we hold on to that truth, we can face any challenge with confidence, knowing that He is with us every step of the way. In addition to trust, it's important to rely on the support of others. When you feel like giving up, don't be afraid to lean on your friends, family, or community for encouragement. Sometimes just having someone walk beside you, listen to you, or offer a word of hope can make all the difference. You don't have to face your struggles alone, and reaching out for support is not a sign of weakness, but an act of strength. Surrounding yourself with people who believe in you and who can remind you of your worth and potential can help you keep going when you feel like quitting. In those moments when you're tempted to give up, remember that the struggle is temporary. You are not defined by this moment, and this moment does not determine your future. Trust that God is with you. Keep moving forward and know that better days are coming. The journey may be hard, but the strength you gain from persevering through it will shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable of fulfilling your purpose. Keep going. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.